Lily Harper stood outside the sleek glass building of Brooks Media in Seattle, her heart pounding in her chest. At 27, she was no stranger to pressure, but today felt different. She adjusted her blazer, smoothed her dark hair, and took a deep breath. This was it, her last shot. 2 months ago, she had lost her job at a small advertising firm due to budget cuts, and now her savings were running thin. She needed this job, not just for the paycheck, but to prove she could still stand on her own. Brooks Media was a big name in the industry, and landing a role here could change everything. She clutched her resume tighter and stepped inside. The lobby was all sharp lines and polished floors, buzzing with people in suits. Lily felt small, out of place, but she squared her shoulders and headed to the reception desk. The woman behind it barely looked up as she waved Lily toward the elevators. 5th floor, conference room 3. That was where the interview would happen. On the ride up, Lily rehearsed her answers in her head. Why do you want this job? Because I'm good at what I do. What's your biggest strength? I adapt fast. She hoped it would be enough. The conference room door swung open before she could knock, and there he was, Nathan Pierce. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp green eyes and a jawline that could cut glass, but his expression was cold, almost bored, as he gestured for her to sit. Lily slid into the chair across from him, her palms sweaty. Nathan flipped through her resume without a word, then leaned back, crossing his arms. So, Lily Harper, he said, his voice low and measured. Why should we hire you when your CV doesn't exactly scream standout? Lily blinked, caught off guard. She opened her mouth, then closed it, scrambling for a response. I've worked hard to get where I am, she started. I've handled campaigns, tight deadlines, difficult clients. I might not have the flashiest resume, but I'm reliable, and honestly, I need this chance more than anyone else here. Her words tumbled out, raw and unpolished, and she winced inwardly. Great, she thought. Sounding desperate was definitely not the plan. Nathan raised an eyebrow, scribbling something on a notepad. Reliable, he repeated like he was testing the word. That's not a bad answer, but it's not enough. Tell me about your last project. What made it work? Lily relaxed a little, grateful for familiar ground. She launched into a story about a shoe brand campaign, how she'd turned a tiny budget into a viral social media hit. Nathan listened, his gaze intense, almost unnerving. She finished, and he nodded slowly, tapping his pen against the table. The questions kept coming, each one sharper than the last. How do you handle failure? What's your take on creative risk? Lily answered as best she could, but she felt like she was barely keeping up. By the end, she was sure she'd blown it. Nathan leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, and studied her resume again. One last thing, he said, his tone shifting, softer now. 5 years ago, you worked on a project for a startup called Brightwave. Ring any bells? Lily frowned, racking her brain. Brightwave? It sounded vaguely familiar, a short gig during her internship days, but nothing stood out. I think so, she said cautiously. It was a small campaign, nothing major. Why? Nathan's eyes locked onto hers, a flicker of something unreadable passing through them. Interesting, he murmured. He sat back, folding his hands. Here's the deal. I'll give you a shot. 30 days on probation. You'll lead a big project, and if you pull it off, you're in. If not, you're out. Deal? Lily stared at him, her mind racing. 30 days to prove herself at a place like this? It was insane, but she had no choice. Deal, she said, her voice steady despite the nerves. Nathan smirked, just a hint of it, and stood to shake her hand. Good, see you Monday. As she left the room, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to his offer, something he wasn't saying. But for now she had a job, or at least a chance at one. That was enough. Lily Harper walked into Brooks Media on Monday morning, her stomach a knot of nerves and excitement. The probation deal with Nathan Pierce echoed in her mind, 30 days to prove she belonged here. She wore her best blazer, the one that made her feel halfway confident, and carried a notebook full of ideas. The office was a hive of activity, phones ringing, screens glowing, and voices overlapping. She found her desk, a small corner spot near a window with a view of Seattle's gray skyline, and sat down just as Nathan appeared. He didn't waste time. "Harper," he said, dropping a thick folder onto her desk. "Your project. It's a campaign for a new tech startup, Echoverse. They want bold, they want buzz, and they want it in 4 weeks. Your running point. Don't screw it up." Lily nodded, swallowing hard. She opened the folder, scanning pages of stats and vague buzzwords like disruptive innovation. Nathan lingered, watching her. "Questions?" he asked. She shook her head. "Good. First draft's due Friday. Impress me." Then he was gone, leaving her with a mountain of work and a ticking clock. The next few days were a blur. Lily threw herself into the project, sketching ideas, researching trends, and guzzling coffee to keep up. Nathan was everywhere, hovering over her shoulder 1 minute, barking orders the next. "This headline's weak," he'd say, pointing at her screen. "Push harder." She'd grit her teeth and rewrite it, even when she wanted to snap back. But then there were moments that threw her off, like when she fumbled a presentation file in a meeting, and Nathan quietly emailed her the fix before anyone noticed. It was small, but it stuck with her. By Thursday night, the office was nearly empty, just Lily and a flickering desk lamp. She was tweaking a slogan, "Hear the future," when Nathan walked in, 2 coffee cups in hand. He set one down beside her. "Black, no sugar," he said. "Figured you'd need it." Lily looked up, surprised. "Thanks," she said, taking a sip. It was bitter, just like him, and she couldn't help but smile. "You only drink black coffee?" she asked. Nathan shrugged, leaning against her desk. "Anything else makes me jittery. Soda once sent me into a panic. True story." Lily laughed, the sound cutting through the quiet. "You're kidding. You're what, a tough creative director scared of bubbles?" Nathan's lips twitched, almost a grin. "Call it a quirk. What about you? What keeps you going?" She hesitated, then said, "Proving I'm not a failure. Lost my last job to cuts, not talent. This is my shot." He nodded like he got it, and for a second the air between them felt lighter. They worked side by side after that, bouncing ideas around. Nathan suggested a visual hook, a sound wave morphing into a cityscape, and Lily ran with it, sketching on a napkin. "This could work," she said, holding it up. He studied it, then said, "Not bad, Harper. You might survive this place." She rolled her eyes but felt a spark of pride. The clock hit midnight and Nathan stood. "Go home, you've got enough for tomorrow." She packed up, the coffee still warm in her hand, and wondered why he'd stayed so late with her. Friday's draft review was brutal. Nathan tore into her pitch in front of the team, pointing out every flaw, the pacing's off, the tagline's too safe. Lily fought to keep her cool, defending her choices. "It's bold if you give it a chance," she said. He stared her down, then nodded. "Fine. Revise it by Monday." She left the meeting fuming but determined. As she reworked it over the weekend, she kept picturing that late-night coffee, the way he'd almost smiled. It didn't add up with the cold boss she saw by day. The next week brought more pressure. Echoverse's CEO was coming for a preview, and Nathan piled on edits. Lily stayed late again, hunched over her desk, when Mia Evans sauntered over. Mia was all sharp heels and sharper smirks, a senior designer who'd made it clear she didn't like newbies. "Burning the midnight oil?" Mia asked, her tones syrupy. "Nathan's tough, huh? Keeps you close, though. Reminds me of how he was with Lila." Lily frowned. "Lila?" Mia leaned in, lowering her voice. "His old flame, 5 years back, broke his heart. Her name was Lila or something close. Funny, right? You're Lily. Maybe he's got a type." Lily froze, the name hitting her like a jolt. "What happened to her?" she asked. Mia shrugged. "Dumped him and vanished, I guess. Just watch yourself. He's not over it, and you're not her." She walked off, leaving Lily staring at her screen. Lila. It didn't mean anything, she told herself, just a coincidence. But Nathan's words from the interview crept back. "We've met before." She shook it off and kept working, but the seed was planted. Tuesday's preview loomed, and Lily polished her pitch until it shone. Nathan watched her present to the team, his face unreadable. She showed the Soundwave concept, now paired with a sleek video mock-up, and held her breath. When she finished, he said, "Solid. Needs a punchier close, but it's getting there." It wasn't praise, not quite, but it wasn't a rejection either. She exhaled, relieved, and caught him watching her as she left the room. That night, alone at her desk, Lily pulled up an old email from her internship days, searching for Brightwave, the project Nathan had mentioned. Nothing clicked. She sighed, rubbing her eyes. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe she was overthinking it. But Mia's warning lingered, and so did the memory of Nathan's hand brushing hers when he'd handed her that coffee. Something was off, and she couldn't let it go. Lily Harper sat at her desk late on a rainy Seattle evening, the office silent except for the hum of her laptop. The Echoverse campaign was nearly done, her revised pitch ready for the CEO's visit tomorrow. She should have felt proud, but her mind kept drifting back to Mia's words. Lila. Nathan's old flame. The name gnawed at her, and so did his cryptic comment from the interview. "We've met before." She'd brushed it off as nothing, but now it felt heavier, like a thread she couldn't stop pulling. She opened her email again, scrolling through old internship files, determined to find Brightwave and figure out what Nathan meant. Half an hour later, she gave up. No trace of Brightwave, no clue about 5 years ago. She leaned back, staring at the ceiling, when a soft creak made her jump. Nathan stood in the doorway, his coat damp from the rain, holding a takeout bag. "You're still here," he said, not quite a question. Lily shrugged. "Finishing touches? You?" He held up the bag. "Dinner. Figured you might be starving." He pulled out 2 sandwiches, handing her one, and sat across from her. The gesture was simple, but it warmed her more than she expected. They ate in quiet for a bit, the sound of rain tapping the windows. Lily watched him, his sharp features softened by the dim light. "Why do you keep doing this?" she asked finally. "Staying late? Bringing food?" "You don't have to." Nathan took a bite, chewing slowly before answering. "Maybe I want to." "You're good at this job, Harper. I'd hate to see you burn out." She smirked. "So it's not because I remind you of Leela?" The words slipped out before she could stop them, and Nathan's hand froze midair. He set the sandwich down, his eyes narrowing. "Who told you about Lila?" His voice was low, guarded. Lily hesitated, then said, "Mia. She said you loved her 5 years ago. Said I'm just a stand-in." Nathan's jaw tightened, and for a moment she thought he'd walk out. Instead, he leaned back, rubbing his face. "Mia talks too much," he muttered. "Lila's ancient history. You're not her." Lily pressed on, curiosity outweighing caution. "Then why'd you bring up Brightwave? You said we met before. I don't remember you." Nathan stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Pain or memory or both. "You wouldn't," he said quietly. "It was one night, a launch party for Brightwave. You were an intern, barely 22, running around with a clipboard. I was a junior exec, cocky and clueless. We talked, laughed, drank too much. Then you kissed me." Lily's breath caught, her mind racing. A party? A kiss? She had flashes of late nights from that summer, blurry nights of cheap wine and loud music, but nothing clear. "I don't," she started, but he cut her off. "It was quick," he said. "You bolted right after, said something about not mixing work and feelings. I didn't see you again. Brightwave folded a month later and I moved on, or thought I did." Lily's head spun. She'd kissed him? 5 years ago. It sounded like her, impulsive and scared, but the memory wouldn't come. "Why didn't you say this sooner?" she asked, her voice shaking. Nathan looked away, out at the rain. "Didn't think you'd want to know. Then I saw your name on that CV, and it hit me. I had to see if you'd changed." She opened her mouth to respond, but a noise interrupted, her chair scraping as she stood. She paced, trying to process it. "So you hired me because of some drunken kiss?" Nathan stood too, stepping closer. "No, I hired you because you're good. The kiss just made me wonder." He paused, then added, "There's more, though. Lily wasn't just some ex." Lily stopped, turning to face him. "What do you mean?" His eyes locked onto hers. steady and raw. Lila was your sister, your twin, and she's gone. The words slammed into her like a punch. Lily stumbled back, grabbing the desk for support. "What?" she whispered. Nathan didn't flinch. "Lila Harper. She worked with me after Brightwave crashed. We dated, fell hard. Then she died, a car accident, 5 years ago, right after that party. I thought you were her when you walked in. Same face, same fire. But you're not." Lily's knees buckled and she sank into her chair. Lila, her twin, dead at 22, hit by a drunk driver while Lily was off chasing her own life. She'd buried that pain deep, never talked about it, not even at work. "You knew her?" Lily asked, her voice barely audible. Nathan nodded. "She was brilliant, chaotic, loved you, talked about you all the time. When she died, I broke. Then you showed up and I thought, maybe it's a second chance. But you're not her, Lily. I see that now." Tears stung her eyes and she wiped them away, angry at herself for crumbling. "Why didn't you tell me?" she demanded. "Because I wasn't sure," he said. "Not until tonight. I've been trying to figure out what I feel, you or her memory." Lily stood again, her chest tight. "I'm not a ghost, Nathan. I'm not here to fix your past." She grabbed her bag, her sandwich untouched, and headed for the door. "Wait," he called, but she didn't stop. "I need air," she said, her voice cracking. She stepped into the rain, the cold soaking her skin, and leaned against the building. "Lila." "Nathan, that kiss!" It was too much, pieces of a life she'd forgotten crashing into the one she was building. Inside, Nathan watched her go, his hands clenched. He'd messed up, pushed too far. But as he looked at her silhouette in the rain, he knew it wasn't just Lila's shadow he saw anymore. It was Lily, real and alive, and he couldn't let her slip away again. Not like last time. He grabbed his coat and followed her out, the door swinging shut behind him. Lily Harper stood in the Seattle rain, her hair plastered to her face, the cold biting into her skin. Nathan's words echoed in her head. "Lila was your twin. She's gone." She'd run out of the office to escape the weight of it, but it followed her, heavy and sharp. 5 years ago, she'd lost her sister, her mirror in a blur of headlights and grief. She'd locked that pain away, built a life over it, and now Nathan had ripped it open. Worse, he'd tied it to her, to that forgotten kiss, to this job. She wiped her face, unsure if it was rain or tears, and started walking. Nathan caught up to her a block later, his coat flapping in the wind. "Lily, wait," he called, his voice rough. She spun around, her eyes blazing. "For what? So you can tell me more about how I'm your dead girlfriend's replacement?" He flinched, stopping a few feet away. "That's not what I meant," he said. "I messed up, okay? I should have told you sooner. But it's not just about Lila. It's you." Lily shook her head, stepping back. "I don't know what you want, Nathan. I'm not her. I can't be." He moved closer, rain dripping from his hair. "I know you're not. I see you, Lily, the way you fight for this job, the way you don't give up. I'm not chasing a ghost. I'm here because of you." His voice cracked, raw and honest, and for a second she almost believed him, but the doubt was louder. "You don't even know me," she said. "You hired me because of some memory, some fluke. I need this job, not your feelings." She turned and walked away, her boots splashing through puddles, leaving him standing there. The next day, Lily threw herself into the Echoverse pitch. The CEO's visit was her last hurdle, and she nailed it, her voice steady as she presented the sound wave concept. The room applauded, and the CEO shook her hand, saying, "Impressive, we're sold." Nathan watched from the back, his face unreadable. When it was over, he cornered her in the hall. "You did it," he said. 30 days, and you're in. Full contract's yours." Lily nodded, forcing a smile. "Thanks, I'll think about it." His brow furrowed. "Think about it? This is what you wanted." "Not like this," she said quietly. "I came here to prove myself, not to be someone's second chance." Nathan started to argue, but she cut him off. "I'm done, Nathan. After today, I'm out." She handed him her revised pitch notes, her final work, and walked away. He called after her, but she kept going, her decision settling like a stone. She couldn't stay, not with Lila's shadow hanging over them. The office buzzed the next week without her. Mia Evans wasted no time, sliding into Nathan's office with a coffee and a smile. "Heard Lily bailed," she said, leaning on his desk. "Guess she couldn't handle it. Need a new partner for the next campaign?" Nathan barely looked up from his laptop. "No," he said, his tone flat. Mia pressed on. "Come on, you don't need her. I've been here longer. I know the game." He set his pen down, fixing her with a cold stare. "You're not Lily. That's the point." Mia's smile faltered, and she left, muttering under her breath. Nathan sat alone after that, staring at Lily's empty desk. He'd pushed too hard, assumed too much. He'd seen her talent, her spark, and yeah, Lila's face. But it was Lily who'd gotten under his skin. The late nights, the way she'd laughed at his coffee quirks, the fire in her pitch. He'd lost her just like he'd lost Lila. But this time it hurt different. He grabbed his jacket and headed out, needing air, needing to think. A year passed, and Lily didn't look back. She took her savings, her grit, and started her own ad firm, Harper Creative, in a tiny Seattle office. It grew fast, her name spreading after a string of bold campaigns. She'd found her footing, built something hers, not tied to Nathan or Lila or anyone. One evening, she hosted a launch event for a new client, a rooftop party with lights strung across the deck. She mingled, glass in hand, feeling steady for the first time in years. Then she saw him, Nathan Pierce, standing by the bar holding a folder instead of a drink. He looked different, less polished, his tie loose. Lily froze, her pulse racing. "What are you doing here?" she asked, walking over. He held up the folder, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Applying for a job. Heard Harper Creative needs a designer. My CV's solid if you'll take a look." She stared, caught between shock and laughter. "You're kidding?" He shook his head. "Dead serious. I've spent a year figuring out what I want. It's you, Lily, not Lila, not the past. I'll start at the bottom if that's what it takes." Lily took the folder, flipping through it. His resume was real, detailed, even listed Brooks Media. She looked up, meeting his eyes, and saw something new there. Certainty, not shadows. "You work for me?" she asked, half teasing. "If you'll have me," he said. "I'm done chasing ghosts. I want the real thing." She handed the folder back, a smile breaking through. "Interviews tomorrow. Don't be late." Nathan grinned, the first real one she'd seen, and she felt the air shift, like a door opening she hadn't known was there. Lily Harper stood on the rooftop of her Seattle office, the night air cool against her skin as the launch party hummed around her. Guests laughed and clinked glasses under strings of golden lights, celebrating Harper Creative's latest success. She'd just finished chatting with a client when Nathan Pierce's words sank in. "I'm applying for a job." She held his CV, still warm from his hands, and looked at him, half expecting a punchline, but his green eyes were steady, no trace of the cold director she'd met a year ago. "You're serious," she said, her voice caught between disbelief and amusement. Nathan nodded, stepping closer, the crowd fading into a blur behind him. "Never been more serious. I walked away from Brooks Media 3 months ago, sold my stake, took a break, figured out what matters. It's you, Lily, not Lila, not some memory. You." She flipped through the CV again, stalling for time. It listed his years at Brooks, his campaigns, even a reference from the Echoverse CEO. She raised an eyebrow. "You'd really work for me? Take orders from the intern who kissed you and ran?" He grinned, a real unguarded grin that lit up his face. "If you'll have me. I'm good at following directions when I want to be." Lily laughed, the sound surprising her. It felt good, lighter than she'd been in months. "Okay, Pierce," she said, tucking the CV under her arm. "Interviews tomorrow, 9 sharp. Bring coffee, black, no sugar. You're on trial again." He mock saluted. "Yes, boss." And she rolled her eyes, but her chest warmed at the playful spark between them. She waved him off to mingle, watching him blend into the party, and took a sip of her drink. For the first time, she didn't feel Lila's shadow. just her own. The next morning, Nathan showed up at Harper Creative's office, a small space with exposed brick and a view of the Puget Sound. He carried 2 coffees, setting one on her desk as she sat behind it, playing the boss. "Punctual," she noted, taking the cup. "Good start." He sat across from her, loosening his tie. "I aim to please." "What's the first question?" She leaned forward, tapping a pen on his CV. "Why should I hire you, Nathan Pierce, when you've spent a year chasing me instead of a career?" He didn't flinch. "Because I'm damn good at what I do, and you know it. Echoverse was half my push, even if you owned it. But more than that, I'm here because I want to build something with you, not just for you. I've spent too long looking back. You make me look forward." Lily studied him, his words settling deep. She'd built this place alone, brick by brick, but the idea of him beside her didn't scare her anymore. "All right," she said. "You're hired, junior designer, 6-month trial. Don't mess it up." Nathan's grin widened and he reached across to shake her hand, his grip firm and warm. "Deal," he said. "You won't regret it." She pulled back, smirking. "I better not. First task, fix the logo mock-up on my desk by noon." He laughed, already rolling up his sleeves, and she watched him settle in, the office feeling fuller with him there. It wasn't just a job, she knew that. It was a beginning, fragile but real. Weeks turned into months, and Nathan fit into Harper Creative like he'd always belonged. He brought ideas, argued with her over fonts, and stayed late to brainstorm over takeout. They fell into a rhythm, work bleeding into quiet moments, a hand brushing hers over a sketch, a shared look that lingered too long. One evening, as rain tapped the windows, Lily caught him staring at her across the office. "What?" she asked, tossing a pencil at him. He caught it, smiling softly. "Just thinking. You're better than I ever imagined, Lily Harper." She stood, walking over to his desk, her heart picking up speed. "Better than Lila?" she asked, half teasing, half needing to know. He set the pencil down, standing to meet her. "Lila was a storm, wild and gone too fast. You're steady, real. I loved her, yeah, but I love you more. Took me a year to see it." His voice was low, honest, and it hit her hard. She stepped closer, close enough to feel his breath. "Good answer," she said, and kissed him. It wasn't like that blurry night 5 years ago, rushed and reckless. This was slow, deliberate, her hands on his face, his arms pulling her in. When they broke apart, she rested her forehead against his, smiling. "You're not bad at this," she murmured. He chuckled. "Practice makes perfect," and she shoved him playfully, the tension melting into laughter. They stood there, rain streaking the glass, and she felt whole, not a twin, not a shadow, just Lily. A month later, they walked out of Harper Creative together after a long day, the city lights reflecting off wet streets. Nathan slipped his hand into hers, and she didn't pull away. "You ever think about Lila bringing us here?" he asked, his tone quiet. Lily squeezed his hand, looking up at the sky. "Maybe. She was always the wild one, pushing me out of my shell. Guess she led you to me, in a way." He nodded, pulling her closer as they walked. "I'll take it," he said. "Her last gift." They stopped at a corner, the bay glimmering in the distance. Lily looked at him, his face soft in the glow, and thought about that first interview, the shaky start that had somehow landed her here. "I came to Brooks Media for a job," she said, almost to herself. "Found more than I bargained for." Nathan turned to her, his eyes bright. "Same. You're my best hire, Harper." She laughed, leaning into him. "And you're mine, Pierce." The night stretched out ahead, full of promise. They'd started with a resume at chance and stumbled through pain and doubt to find each other. Harper Creative was hers, built from scratch, but now it was theirs too, a shared dream taking shape. As they walked on, hand in hand, Lily felt the past settle, Lily's memory a quiet warmth instead of a weight. She glanced at Nathan, his profile sharp against the lights, and smiled. Whatever came next, they'd face it together, no shadows, just them. The rain slowed to a drizzle, and the city hummed around them, alive and bright. Lily tilted her head back, letting a few drops hit her face, and thought about that interview, the coffee, the kiss that changed everything. She'd walked in looking for work, but she'd found a life, a love she hadn't known she needed. Nathan squeezed her hand, pulling her along, and she followed, ready for whatever lay ahead, the two of them against the world.